A new tourism brand for St. Kitts was media launched 20th September by the St. Kitts Tourism Authority at an exclusive event in New York City. According to the authority, the new brand, a campaign called Venture Deeper, encourages the exploration of St. Kitts, and the visuals and content will be used on various platforms, including the Tourism Authority's website, on social media channels, for television advertisements, as well as for other digital platforms. The event was attended by Minister of Tourism Marshall Henderson, who is quoted as saying, quote, St. Kitts is relatively new to tourism, only focusing efforts and resources to tourism within the last 20 years. This gives our island a very different ethos in the Caribbean. We are contemplative, nostalgic, and soulful. We appeal to intrepid travelers eager to explore, to learn, and immerse themselves fully in a new experience. There are many layers to peel back when exploring St. Kitts, and we are excited that the campaign showcases this unique positioning to the world. End quote. Tourism Authority's CEO Ellison Tommy Thompson reported the new brand evokes the spirit of St. Kitts, and it has been very well received. Glenn Buck reporting for SK Newsline.
Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew disclosed in an interview with SK Newsline that the school's laptop program will resume under his administration. He said the plan is to start with fifth formers and eventually include primary school students.
In terms of the laptop program, we have also started to move to put the laptop program back in place. Why? Because we want our students to have access to technology so that as they educate themselves, they are left behind. They can compete, as we said before, with those in China, India, and across the world, Western Europe, and so forth. Even though we are small, we believe we can educate our people to compete anywhere in the world. And
these are primary school students that will be getting laptops?
So we're going to start with the high schoolers. As we phase it back in. Those in fifth form right now, we're going to do CXC, and as we go along, we start phasing it in. And we're going to go as far as the primary school. The other thing that we're going to do in education is what you call e-education, where we want to go. We're already we're going to lay the fiber optic lines to connect the schools and so forth, so that they can have good access to internet and so forth, and so that teachers would also be given the opportunity to have laptops. And so we want to introduce smart boards and so that we can really take the education to the next level. So we are going to be investing in education as well.
The one-to-one laptop program was discontinued by the previous administration as they argued it was not properly administered and that the laptops were mishandled by the students. However, Prime Minister Drew pushed back against such arguments.
Well, I cannot say that most of the time it was not being used for schoolwork. That might have been said to justify ending the program. But like any other new program, it was not a perfect program, but it was a good program.
Right.
So all that needed to be done was to, where there were issues, you could fix them, but you shouldn't just throw out the whole program. So we have picked up that there would have been issues, and when the program is reintroduced, there will be, of course, a plan to deal with those issues. But also, new issues will arise. But that does not mean we should take the technology from the students.
Right.
When you go to the most developed countries, the students technology has become just the norm for them. If we don't get to that state here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we will be left behind.
The Prime Minister said the laptop program is part of the social programs that his administration will be implementing during his tenure. He assured that the government can afford to pay for the program. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline. Your vehicle is very important to you. That's why you should ensure it gets the best service and care possible only at IAS Diagnostic Center, located at Bird Rock behind the Life Fitness Center gym. Come to IAS Diagnostic Center for wheel alignment, rotor cutting, AC servicing, wheel balancing, oil filter change, diagnostic, tire repair and sale, tinting, and much more. With top-of-the-line equipment, come to IAS Diagnostic Center in Bird Rock. Opening hours Monday to Friday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Call Call 767-4422, 662-4416, or 466-6708. IAS Diagnostic Center for quality care of your vehicle.
Smart and Island Electronics brings to you the Super Summer Coolong Sale from July 21st until October 30th. Get amazing discounts on the widest range of gadgets, electronics and appliances. But because it's summer, you get double discounts on hall fans, refrigerators and air conditioners. And don't forget to ask about our easy layaway plans. Good news for the people of Neves. Smart Electronics is coming to Neves at a convenient location just opposite Best Buy. So visit our stores at Smart Electronics on Port Zonte and Island Electronics on Ford Street. Terms and conditions apply. Our COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
The 2021 Population and Housing Census is expected to be completed by October 15th, and the general public is encouraged to give their full participation when the enumerators arrive at their doors. Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Sheralita Shez Dor Tyson, during an interview with the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service on Wednesday, said, quote, "I'm encouraging our citizens to participate in the census as we make this final push to complete this census by the middle of October. We are resuming the census. We had a delay, and a number of factors such as COVID-19 and the 2022 general elections would have influenced the delay. However, we have set a new target date of October 15th, and we want this done by that time." End quote. Ms. Dor Tyson outlined several benefits that can come from the completion of the 2021 Population and Housing Census, including using the data to help create social programs and to help improve the social services that are needed. She said it also helps to inform good decision-making and planning, and appealed to the general public to welcome the census enumerators. She encouraged them to contact the department at 467-1253 or 467-1257 if they learn that enumerators visited their area and they were not interviewed. To date, 75% of the population in St. Kitts have been interviewed, while Nevis has completed the census. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline. Your vehicle is very important to you. That's why you should ensure it gets the best service and care possible only at IAS Diagnostic Center, located at Bird Rock behind the Life Fitness Center gym. Come to IAS Diagnostic Center for wheel alignment, rotor cutting, AC servicing, wheel balancing, oil filter change, diagnostic, tire repair and sale, tinting, and much more. With top-of-the-line equipment, come to IAS Diagnostic Center in Bird Rock. Opening hours Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Call 767-4422, 662-4416, or 466-6708. IAS Diagnostic Center for quality care of your vehicle.
Smart and Island Electronics brings to you the Super Summer Coolong Sale from July 21st until October 30th. Get amazing discounts on the widest range of gadgets, electronics and appliances. But because it's summer, you get double discounts on hall fans, refrigerators and air conditioners. And don't forget to ask about our easy layaway plans. Good news for the people of Neves. Smart Electronics is coming to Neves at a convenient location just opposite Best Buy. So visit our stores at Smart Electronics on Port Zonte and Island Electronics on Ford Street. Terms and conditions apply. Our COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, News, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
Auto Plus Car Wash, located on the College Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks. Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on the College Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where the service is number one.
Can you believe all the ings we can fit under one roof? We're here to help your small business any way we can.
Following the People's National Party's 84th conference held on Sunday, party members in a media briefing held here at the headquarters remained optimistic in their presentations for the future of the party. Party leader Mark Golding remains steadfast in leading comrades on a progressive path on the heels of the PNP's 84th conference. Golding, while addressing the media Tuesday, says the conference was a success. He noted prior to Sunday's conference, private sessions were held with delegates of the party. The sessions, according to Golding, were to discuss the Policy and Vision Commission's report.
We broke out into multiple discussion groups to have an opportunity to discuss it in detail, and then went back to plenary and adopted the vast majority of what was in the report.
He adds resolutions were passed regarding change of the voting rules of the party in relation to elections of party leaders and vice presidents.
To go to a system of one member, one vote, and this was an important step towards deepening the internal democracy within the party, moving away from the system where voting was the reserve of delegates. This is not to say that delegates will not continue to be of great importance. They will. The group structure remains.
Golding highlights another resolution passed for the expansion of membership to Jamaicans living abroad. He says this decision was based on the significance of the diaspora.
And our recent intensified engagement with the diaspora over the last year and a half, 2 years, culminating in our tour of the U.S. Eastern Seaboard in July, the delegates approved the resolution to expand membership to Jamaicans living overseas.
Javine McLean, CVM Live.
Meantime, government says they remain committed to improving the country's financial standing. Economic Affairs Minister Senator Michael Halkitis telling attendees at the recent Abaco Business Outlook that while the numbers look promising, the government remains cautiously optimistic.
And we are experiencing strong growth in this year, 2022. The expectation is that our economic growth will moderate going into 2023, 2024, but we are working very hard to disprove those projections. We have reformed our National Economic Council process to be able to consider and approve new investment projects in a more timely manner, and hence get shovels in the ground more quickly. We have committed to increase the rate of capital spending to support infrastructure and hence the economy. And again, this is particularly important in the Family Islands. We have committed going forward to spend 3.5% of the national budget on capital spending in the economy. We are continuing support for entrepreneurs, especially in areas of sustainable industries, including tourism segments.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our world is in big trouble.
The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres setting a grim tone for this meeting. Among the many conflicts in the world that continue to rage, one, the war in Ukraine, will dominate proceedings this week. And as the meeting was taking place, news was confirmed that in the Ukrainian provinces of Luhansk and Donetsk, votes within days will take place on whether to become part of Russia. This was the reaction of the US ambassador to the UN.
They will not be recognized by anyone in the international community. They were not recognized in 2014, and it will not be recognized this time around. It is illegal annexation of another country's territory.
NATO's Secretary-General told me he believes Russia may be acting now because of the losses it suffered during the recent Ukrainian offensive.
Such referenda have no legitimacy because they are shame referendums, and they will not change the nature of the war. This remains a war of aggression against Ukraine, and it represents an escalation. Because if suddenly these territories which are part of Ukraine are declared as part of Russia, that will further escalate the conflict.
The General Assembly heard from two leaders who've maintained a dialogue with President Putin throughout the war. The President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, helped negotiate a deal to export the grain from Ukraine. He says there now needs to be a dignified end to the war. President Emmanuel Macron of France, in an impassioned speech, was much tougher on Russia.
As I am speaking to you now, there are Russian troops in Ukraine, but as far as I know, there are no Ukrainian troops in Russia. That's a fact, and we all have to recognize that. The longer this war goes on for, the more it threatens peace in Europe and the entire world. It leads to a wider, permanent conflict, where the sovereignty and security of everyone will only depend on power. What we have been witnessing since February 24th is a return to imperialism and colonialism.
Ukraine is expected to be one of the focuses of President Biden's speech to the General Assembly on Wednesday. There's also a speech delivered by video by President Zelensky, and on Thursday, a meeting of the UN Security Council at foreign minister level, again on Ukraine. James Bays, Al Jazeera at the United Nations.
Now, Typhoon Namadol has killed at least 4 people and injured more than 80 over the weekend. It's been downgraded at the moment to a cyclone. It crossed to the northeastern coast and headed out to the Pacific Ocean. Hundreds of thousands of homes are without power, and at one stage more than 9 million people were urged to leave their homes. Let's cross to our correspondent in Tokyo, Rupert Winfield-Hayes. Rupert, just tell us how bad it has been and how is it for those affected at the moment?
Yeah, as you say, the Typhoon Namadol has now been downgraded and has broken up over northern Japan. But for the last 3 days, it really has been a monster storm, the like of which Japan has rarely seen. Only a handful of other times a storm of this size in the last half century. And it's hit the southern Kyushu island of Kyushu on Sunday, and then it has just churned right across the whole of Japan over the last 2.5 days, and really bringing very destructive winds, 150-mile-an-hour winds, over 200-kilometre-an-hour winds, which have caused quite a lot of damage to electricity supplies and structural damage. But really the big thing has been the amount of rain. Really astonishing amounts of rain have fallen over western and central Japan. In Kyushu, they measured more than 70 centimetres of rain falling on Sunday and into Monday. And even in Honshu, 40 centimetres of rain fell yesterday of Honshu. So that's been the major problem, causing a lot of local flooding. There is a concern still about the possibility of landslides and mudslides. As you said, the toll from this has been fortunately very small in terms of loss of human life, but it really has caused massive disruption right across Japan for the last 3 days.
What are scientists saying about linking this with climate change?
Well, they're absolutely linking it to climate change and also to the La Nina phenomenon in the Pacific Ocean this year. We're in a La Nina year which will have exacerbated the size of this typhoon. But really, this is part of a trend which we're very clearly seeing. The data is very apparent. In the late 1970s, the Pacific Ocean used to produce about one super typhoon a year. Now we're seeing between 4 and 5 super typhoons developing in the Western Pacific every year, and that trend is expected to increase. Not only are these storms getting bigger and more frequent, but they are moving further north, away from the equator, towards Japan, China, and the Korean Peninsula. And so this part of the world is just getting battered more often by bigger storms.
And Rupert, just in terms of the areas that have been affected, were they heavily populated? And when you see these incredible heavy winds and gusts, gusts and the rain that you mentioned, what is the practical impact of that?
Yeah, I mean, Japan is a very mountainous but also very densely populated country. The valleys and the coastal plains are very densely populated in Japan, and that's why you see these huge figures of 9 million people being told to leave their homes. People go to local evacuation centres, often very close to their homes, to spend the night so that they're in a safe place, and then they'll go home in the morning. So it's not like whole towns or whole cities are being evacuated, but it has affected very large numbers of people, and many people remain today without electricity. And it will take time for everything to get back to normal.
OK, Rupert Wingfield-Hayes, thank you very much indeed.
Well, as the battle for the remaining 3 playoff spots moved to Guyana, the Trinbago Knight Riders have found themselves in a must-win situation during the final leg of the Hero CPL League stages. Here's why. Well, the Trinbago Knight Riders began their home series with a defeat and also ended with a defeat. And here's a quick look at what took place at the Queen's Park Oval and also at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in South Trinidad. The TKR, they batted first against the Barbados Royals in their first match and got to 132 all out, with Nicholas Puran scoring 52. The Royals walked over that total, getting to 136 for the loss of just 2 wickets. In the second match, it saw a resurgent TKR team taking on the Guyana Amazon Warriors, and the TKR, they took first strike, getting to 150 for the loss of 8, with a top score 42 coming in from Colin Munro. Amazon Warriors, they choked, being bowled out for 124, with Akil Hussain and Andre Russell both taking 3 wickets apiece, doing the bulk of the damage. The third game went down to the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Charuba, and that match saw Ravi Rampal destroy the Jamaica Tallowers, taking 4 wickets for 19 runs to restrict the Jamaica Tallowers to 116 for the loss of 7. TKR endured superb bowling for the Tallowers and eventually got to 119 for the loss of 6, winning by 4 wickets.
It is the former Tallowa.
Well, the fourth and final match also took place at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, with the St. Lucia Kings prevailing. The Kings batted first and posted 147 from their 20 overs, with Johnson Charles top scoring with 54. TKR struggled through the mid-stages with stingy bowling from the Kings. In the end, they fell 1 run short at 146 for the loss of 6, giving Kings a 1-run victory heading to Guyana.
Welcome to the SKN Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boone. Here is a look at the forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. For a more detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.